Good evening, everyone. I welcome all the participants, those who are joined here, and I welcome the speaker, Herdiana Devi ma'am. As you are knowing that this is Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust Latur organizing daily international webinar series. In this series, we are inviting the speakers from India and abroad. The speakers are contributing their field of research as a topic, and we are gaining the knowledge every day from various resources from India and abroad. Today, we will listen on the topic the power of thoughts, and we have invited Herdiana Devi Nurfika from Bliss Education Center, West Java, Indonesia. For your kind information, she is not new for us. She also delivered various talks on this dais when and when we have invited her. She is an active educationalist and participated in various international platforms. I welcome you, ma'am, and welcome all the participants, those who are joined here. And I request you, you can deliver your speech. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Dr. BETKAR, for the lovely introduction. And I'm deeply grateful for the invitation for coming back to this international web series because I do believe that every single day you try to spread a positivity and also education for all people in this world, no matter where they are. So I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. I'm so happy for being here. And as Dr. Baker already mentioned, today we're going to talk about the power of thought. But before we get started, let me introduce myself and share my screen. Okay, I hope this is feasible. Is it feasible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, so good evening to all participants. I hope all of you are doing well because today we're going to talk about something that can maybe move forward for you in the new year because we're going to talk about how to stop overthinking and lead with emotional clarity because we're going to have a new year. We have to set a clear mindset for our great next year. Okay, but before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Herdiana Nurfika, and you can call me Coach Diana or Diana. I'm student founder of Bliss Education Center and Brancy Firm. Besides that, I'm also certified NLP Master Practitioner and also ACD in RBD therapy. So, alongside with this leadership journey, I have trained hundreds of people for corporate training both in Indonesia and also across the globe. And with that journey, I'm so beyond grateful because I got some kind of word in leadership in Indonesia and in other countries like in the Philippines, in USA, in UK too. And when we talk about UK, I also got Best Mental Health Advocate in 2023 by MHI Network, which is Mental Health Innovation Network. And that's why I'm so really excited and I'm so eager to spread this positivity to overcome overthinking because no matter what kind of the occupations that you are having right now, I do believe that we sometimes encounter this kind of overthinking. So I hope in this session we can have a really interactive section. Maybe you can type some kind of the questions or maybe answer my questions to the chat box. Okay. So I think we have to start with something that is truly truth, but most of the times we try to avoid this truth, okay? And the hard truth is that we have to realize that the source of stress is actually not our colleague, not the circumstances we have at work, at home, on the street, go to work, or even not kind of the obligations that you have to do in the workplace. It's actually the conversation that happening in your mind that brings you stress, realize it or not. When we encounter a specific maybe pressure in our activity, we try to manage our emotions by controlling events. For example, okay, some people might say, I will be calm if I get new promotions. Okay, so when we have that kind of mindset, we try to control the event. We try to be perfectionists. We try to maybe nagging down other people around us in order for us to get the job that we want. But actually, what we are going to realize is the events or the situation is actually don't disturb us. Okay, but what we call as a belief that is actually disturb ourselves. And today, I'm not going to motivate in asking you to think positively, because I think that's not my duty to ask you to think positively. What I'm going to ask you is let us to think clearly about what is actually happening in our lives and what is actually affected in our daily basis, okay? So, as an RBT therapist, which is rational emotive behavior therapy, I am here to bring you a clarity, okay? Because we're going to have a new year, and I do believe that most of you want to have a new year with a clarity. And when we talk about the clarity, it starts with a rational thinking, because we cannot lead our way, we cannot lead other people, we cannot move forward if we have an irrational thinking, okay? So in rational emotive behavior therapy, we focus on how thoughts shape our emotions. That's why my title in today's presentation is The Power of Thought. And this is actually practical, not a myth, not a critical, because we're going to learn together how is actually the real fact that even don't disturb us, but our beliefs about the events do, okay? So a quick introduction about the RABT. It's actually developed by Dr. Albert Ellis, and it's not some kind of the psychological treatment about the positive thinking and so on. It's actually bring awareness for us to think more rational, flexible, and reality-based thinking, because most of the times people get stressed by our own belief, which we actually create those scenarios that is actually not in our reality. So today we're going to try to think more rational and actually in a reality level, okay? So why do we actually overthinking? Some of you might don't realize or maybe don't recognize why we overthinking but we count ourselves at 12 a.m., at 1 a.m., at 3 a.m., overthinking things that is not happening yet, or overthinking things that already happened, and we made up some scenarios on our mind. So overthinking is actually repetitive thinking without clarity. Why without clarity? Because it's actually made up by our mind. It's not real, okay? And in kind of the workplace, overthinking also often faced with the high performance, okay? They often think like feels productive but create emotional noise. Let's say they do really great in presentation, have done a great maybe some kind of the projects, but we realize they actually burn out themselves in a silence. Like we don't know actually what kind of the battles they have on their mind when nobody actually watching out, okay? So many intelligent people actually overthink, not because they are weak, but because they care. Some people overthinking because they truly care every single thing, while other people who are less care, they just live their life without trying to think what will be happen if this happen, if that happen. They don't overthinking about that. But those people who are overthinking, it's actually they have a deep understanding and deep care for themselves and also for other people, but not in a healthy way. Okay, so what we have to recognize in here that overthinking is driven by rigid belief, not by the reality. Okay, so I hope that before we continue our presentation together right now, we already on the same page that overthinking is driven by the rigid belief, not by the reality. Okay, so in rational emotive behavior therapy, we got ABC model. Okay, and later on we can talk about A, B, C, D, E, and so on. But we actually have to understand the core model first, which is the ABC model. Okay, why we have to try to understand this ABC model? Because our thought creates our emotions. Okay, for example, when you have a thought like you are a failure, it makes you feel like anxious, it makes you feel sad, and with that kind of emotion, it drives the action that maybe you try to pull out yourself from the community. You try to be silenced in a meeting, in a conversation that actually you are supposed to join. So that's why it's really important to understand that our thought creates our emotion that can lead to a specific conclusion or a specific action. Okay, the A stands in here is activating even, which is what happened to you. Okay, the B stands for the belief. Okay, so this is the belief that we usually tell ourselves. Okay, and the C is the consequences, how we feel and how we act. The consequences is actually linked to the belief. Okay, because we're not going to have the result, we are not going to have the action without the feeling that we create on our mind in the first place. Because I think most people believe emotion come directly from the events, but emotion actually not come directly from the event, and instead it comes from our belief. That's how we call it as a cognitive thinking, a pattern. Okay, so for example in here, this is actually common things that happened in people's lives. For example, they receive a critical feedback, maybe in a presentation, in a monthly report, or in an annual report, as we are going to end of this year. And then with the activating event, which is critical feedback, we have our belief, or we tell ourselves that I must not fail because this is terrible. Okay, and when we tell ourselves, we are repeating, telling ourselves that I must not fail, because if I fail, maybe they will hate me, they will don't like me, I will not get promotion, and so on. The list of the beliefs that we tell ourselves is actually, the list is truly go on. Okay, and the consequences after we tell ourselves that kind of the irrational thinking, then what happened after that? We have anxiety, we have a rumination, we got self-doubt just because the critical feedback. Okay, but what I am going to ask you right now in today's session is that overthinking happens at B level. Okay, when I say at B level, it means that this overthinking that say I must not fail, this is actually terrible, I'm not a good educator, I'm not a good person, I'm not good at doing my job, and so on. It's actually in a B levels, which is in our core beliefs. But most of people misunderstood that actually it happens, or it starts with the activating event. Most of people believe they have anxiety, they have a self-doubt. It's because of the critical feedback. But it's actually not. Overthinking happens at B and not an A. Okay, so I hope that right now you got the point that when you feel you have answers, when you feel nervous, when you have a self-doubt, when you are overthinking something, it's actually your belief, not the situation. Because what happened, what other people throw to us is not the root causes of our sadness. It's not the root causes of our anxiety. Okay. So we have to recognize that it's the belief that fuel overthinking, and me calling it as irrational thinking. For example, when you got a critical feedback from your colleague, from your clients, from your students, from your boss, and so on, then you might have to believe that I must be perfect, which is demandingness. Or maybe you also have a belief this is terrible, which is catastrophizing. Or you actually drown yourself to the low tolerance until you say to yourself, I cannot stand this. Okay, and once you have a low tolerance, sometimes some people get self-drowning by saying like I'm not good enough, and all of this for irrational belief comes from your own belief just because you got a critical thinking. Okay, but irrational, it doesn't mean it's such a stupid thing. It's actually just a very good unhelpful. Why do I call it as an unhelpful? Because you got in a difficult situation, okay, and you made up your own scenario, and it's actually just getting you in a worse situation, not in a better place. Because overthinking is often sign of rigid beliefs, not in deep intelligence. So just because you are overthinking, it doesn't mean that you are less intelligent than other people. What going to make you really in a better place is when you realize that you might have irrational thinking for a second, but you have the power to switch those irrational thinking to be more rational, so you can have more clarity, you can be the better version of yourself. Okay, so I'm going to show you what kind of the common thoughts that truly make people getting stuck. Okay, we are going to end this 2025, and I do really hope that we're going to leave these common thoughts left behind so we can move forward with more clarity in a new year. Okay, most people say like, I must not disappoint anyone. Okay, either you disappointed anyone or not is actually not your own responsibility to make other people happy. That's the most important thing that you need to remember in the first place. Okay, so in order to have a rational thinking with the given situation that make you feel you don't want to make other people disappointed with you, you have to switch your belief with the I prefer to do well, but I don't need approval to have work. Because when you have a belief to not wanting disappointed anyone, then it makes you be a perfectionist person. Okay, and when you are putting yourself in a perfectionist level, then it's actually you come to the surface as a person to show up, to show yourself that your word is actually judging by other people, but it's actually not the truth. Okay, next, the common thinking patterns that people have is they are having on their mind that if I make mistake, it means I am not capable. Okay, this is most common overthinking lines that people are telling to their mind after they make a wrong mistake in the report, after they make a wrong mistake in the presentation, and so on. But It's actually not. Even if you make a mistake, it's not going to define yourself, because when we make a mistake, it means that we are learning, not incompetence, because we cannot be on the top without doing wrong. Okay, because we need to evaluate things. When we can evaluate things, actually, we are learning, we are growing, and we can see and we can test ourselves how far we have come. Okay. Next is others are doing better than me and I'm falling behind. Okay, this is actually the other sentence that so many people telling themselves, especially as we live in digital age, we see people often post a happy lifestyle or maybe luxury thing on social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, and they start comparing themselves that other people are doing better and you are not. Okay, what we have to realize is that comparison is information, not a verdict. Okay, it's not going to actually judging you overall or give you a value in specific things. Okay, next is if I don't have a clarity now, I will fall later. I will fail later. This sounds like a positive, negative affirmation. Why I'm saying this is actually a toxic positivity, because when you are wanting a clarity, either right now or later, it's going to be fine, because you cannot really have the same pace with another people who you don't know when is or where is their starting point. Okay, what you have to think or what you have to believe on your mind is that uncertainty is uncomfortable, not dangerous. Okay, so just because you don't have a clarity right now, it doesn't mean that your story is going to end. Okay, you have to think it's true that uncertainty is uncomfortable, but it's actually not a dangerous, it's actually not a self-death threat, it's not actually something that you cannot have an option later on. Okay, next is I should already be farther in life. This is such a common sentence that people often say when they try to reflect on themselves, especially like at this time, almost at the end of the year. They try to tell themselves they have to work harder, they have to be farther in life, and so on. This is kind of toxic positivity, because the thing is that progress doesn't follow a fixed timeline. Your timeline and my timeline is different because we are starting at different time, we are having a different background, and so on. So please, just because it's going to end 2025, I hope that you can remind yourself that progress doesn't follow a fixed timeline. Everyone has their own timeline, everyone has their own progress, and we all have to respect that, no matter what kind of the numbers, the result that is going to show up in our life. Okay, next, RBD practice to dispute the thoughts. So I have mentioned some kind of the example, like I cannot make mistake, I must fail, I cannot disappoint anyone, and so on. Those the beliefs that we are trying to tell to our mind. Those the belief that we hold in ourselves, and that is actually something we can dispute. Okay, so for example, you send a message or a proposal. Okay, everyone has their own activity, you don't get reply directly, but on your mind you have an expectation that you already done a very great work in your life, and you expect that other people is going to reply soon, and you are telling yourself that if they don't reply your proposal or your message as soon as you expected, then you try to tell yourself maybe they don't like it. Okay, maybe they are disappointed, or maybe I must have done something wrong. Okay, so when you have this kind of thought, it's going to bring you anxiety, overthinking, and self-doubt. But the thing in here, in order to have more clarity, is we have to ask ourselves, because those irrational thinking is not a fact. Okay, so what you have to do to dispute in the first place is asking yourself, is this thought logical? Okay, no response, it doesn't mean rejection. Okay, just because someone doesn't reply your email, your proposal, your message, it doesn't mean that 100% rejection, because we don't know what actually they are doing. Okay, then you have to ask yourself, is there any evidence that you are disappointed them? None yet, because they no reply to you at all. Why do you have to tell yourself? Why do you even make an assumptions that there is no evidence, but you keep throwing the negative thoughts on your mind? Okay. Next is this thought is helping me? Okay. You are in a waiting pass, for example. You are waiting a response. You are waiting a feedback that will skyrocket your career, for example. If you have the thought like they are disappointed, I must have done something wrong, I must fail, and so on, you have to realize and asking yourself, is this thought helping me? Rather than it actually creates pressure, not clarity. Okay? So when this kind of a thought encounters on your mind, you have to tell yourself that I don't know the reason for the delay. I prefer clarity, but I can tolerate waiting. We have to be rational, because when we overthinking, we have to realize that is actually assumption, not facts. Okay? And in order to wait something, to get approval, to get response, you have to set your own boundaries. You have to set your own tolerance of waiting. Okay, so you're not going to drown yourself. If you are waiting for a proposal to get reply, and you have ever talked to that person face to face, or you ever had a kind of the conversation before, maybe you can estimate the maximum days for them to reply you, like maybe 7 days is actually long enough for them, or maybe 3 days, or maybe 2 weeks. You have to set your own tolerance waiting. And once it crosses or it passes your own tolerance waiting, then you can start moving. Moving doesn't mean that you have to fit your mind with those negative beliefs or with those irrational thinking, but you have to moving forward with the facts, with the reality that actually support your current situation, not creating more pressure. Okay, so RBT, or rational emotive behavior therapy, is actually teaching us to make a thought like a hypothesis. Okay, because our thought is actually not a command. Let's say just because you are overthinking at 2 a.m., at 3 a.m. every single day for a week, it doesn't mean that your thought is real. It doesn't mean that you have to follow or you have to believe those thoughts, because even the loud thought, it doesn't mean it's the wiser thought. Okay, so you have to understand the even is actually neutral or natural. What different or what changed the situation is your belief that creates emotions. That's why sometimes we might have two different people with the same situation, but the result, one person is looking fine, happily, and the other person is looking so sad and stressed, even though they are having the same situation, same background, because they definitely have a different belief, and those beliefs that creates their emotion that can reflect in their action, how they show up in this world, or how we show up, how we show our activity to other people is actually the result of our thought. If we are thinking bad all the time about ourselves, then we are going to picture other people as a bad thing too, because we cannot be so hard on ourselves and reflect, or maybe try to point it out to other people in a very good way, because that's how we fake things. And those fake things or those fake actions cannot last longer. Okay. And next is disputation creates space. This might be truly taking time for some people. For example, if you have three irrational thinking, maybe you are wondering, do we have to asking that one by one? My answer is yes. If you have one irrational thinking, you have to ask yourself again this kind of three questions, like, is this thought logical? Is there evidence of my thought? Is this thought is helping me? If you have three irrational thinking, then you have to dispute it a very fair. It means one by one, because the thing is, we can produce so many thoughts. Okay, we are spiraling with so many thoughts on our daily basis, and when we don't want to write it down to see what is actually the problem in our life, or what is actually the things that we hold so heavy on our mind, is actually can be seen clearer when we try to write it down and answer this kind of the questions. Okay, so I hope that when you have irrational thinking, you can try to asking yourself some kind of this question, because it's going to create the space. Okay, we have to understand that the goal is not to replace thoughts with positive one, but with the true ones. Okay, because the truth is, we can have a million thoughts every single day. We can have a positive thought, we can have negative thoughts, but at the end of the day, it is our choice. We have the power to believe which one of these thoughts that are true. Okay, because it is actually our full responsibility, our full power to believe which one that is true. Okay, you don't have to always do such a positive affirmation just to have an rational thinking. You just need to understand yourself more, which one of these thoughts are real in your reality, not the assumptions that is actually happening on your mind. Okay, so the conclusion from today's presentation is that the clarity, if you want to have it, is actually a choice that you can make in every single day. Like I have mentioned, every single day you can have million of thoughts, you can have 1,000 of thoughts, but it is your power, it is your responsibility to believe which one that is true, and the choice is yours. Okay, you will not always have to believe every single thought that is being noisy on your mind, on your midnight, on your daily basis, in every morning, every night. You have to realize that our goal when we want to dispute our thought is not to stop thinking, because we have the brain from the God. It's supposed to be working. Don't expect that in order to stop overthinking, then you have to stop thinking. You have to be in Zen, for example. Then you are trying to avoid every single thing that you think maybe it's going to complicate your life. If you are doing that, then you cannot go any further in the life. You cannot welcome the new year with a more prosperous thing. You cannot welcome the new year with a more abundance, for example. You have to understand that our goal is to stop surrendering to every thought. Okay, just remember, to stop surrendering to every thought means that you don't have to believe every single thought that you creates or on your mind if it's not true. Okay, so before end of this year, I'd like you to tell yourself, to tell the belief on your mind that I release the rigid beliefs and I choose rational thinking so I can lead with emotional clarity. If you try this RBT ABC model, I do believe that you can lead the new year with more clarity, with more confidence, and with more amazing things. Because when you are in your irrational thinking pace, you cannot be creative. You cannot attract more good opportunity. You are going to stuck on your current situation with even worse condition with your situation before. So I hope that all of you, all the participants in today's session can understand that the clarity you are wanting, you are hoping, you are wishing to get is actually your daily choice. Okay, so it starts from yourself. It's going to end by yourself too. Don't expect other people. Don't blame other people when something happened to you. Okay, I think some of you might join later, so you might skip or you might didn't see the earlier presentation. But I'm telling you that when something happens, when we feel bad, for example, about our situation, we have to realize it's actually not about other people. It's not actually about the situation that bring the anxiety, bring self-doubt, bring overthinking. It's actually the belief that we are telling on our mind. That's why from now on, I hope that we all have a clarity to tell ourselves which thought that are real, which thought that is helping in our growth journey, and which thought that have evidence that we are not what we are thinking. So I think that's all in my today's presentation. If you want to learn more about REBT or maybe the example more in kind of real life example, I have my book on Amazon. You can get it on the paperback or in the Kindle version. I hope that we all can truly have this new year with more prosperity. Okay. So, okay, as I have introduced myself, I'm also founder of Brancy Firm, which is a PR agency. If you want to get a publication, for example, you want to get recognized, you can also contact me. So thank you so much for your time and also for your awareness to be in a better version of yourself, because I do believe that you are here with me right now in today's session in order to be the best version of yourself, because we have the title of today's presentation, The Power of Thought, and I do believe all of you have a really high awareness. Okay, thank you so much. Dr. BETKAR, I'm giving back to you.
Thank you, madam. Because from last 40 minutes, we are talking from about the of thoughts, and this is a very useful for us because in the situation, kindly mute yourself so that you will listen. Yeah. So the rational thought, irrational thought, how they support us in other situations so that we can do the best for us. Thank you for your presentation, and I welcome for your publication of book, your other activities, and definitely the participants will reach with your activities. Thank you. And I request Dr. Sanu Shukla sir, please come ahead and discuss with our speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Good evening, Dr. BETKAR sir, and good evening, ma'am. Wonderful presentation you have done today. I think we are getting echo.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. And wonderful presentation. I'm a doctor by profession. And very important thing is smooth thinking is playing a role in the healthcare. Ma'am, if you can mute yourself, I think you can hear better.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can you please repeat it?
Yeah, thank you. So now very important. Still someone
Please
is
mute
there.
yourself, madam. Yes.
Prince or someone, yeah. Thank you. So I think what we are discussing here is overthinking, and number of patients are coming with overthinking. We call it as psychosomatic disorders. So hypertension, peptic ulcer, cardiac complaints, asthma, and so many conditions we can connect with overthinking. And no doubt what you have said correctly, that anxiety, that fear, and that is why we are doing overthinking. The situation is one, situation is always neutral, what you said correctly, but when we start thinking on it, we develop our emotion, and that has led to this problem. Nowadays you'll find, in today's world, we are having so much social media with us, and we are having no time to communicate with each other, and we can share our emotions. If it is anger also, we share on mobile, and if it is something sadness also, or some kind of fear also, we share with someone. So I think that social media is also playing some role, right? The problem is of tomorrow, but we start thinking today only. So that is how the social media is started playing. Because of COVID-19 also, what I feel, that we develop a lot of anxiety, fear, and threat, and it is because of our social media. So overthinking is because of social media. That is my own statement. What do you think about this statement, that the social medias, and no doubt the television shows and movies, those also we start thinking too much. I think we should be like a child. The child never think much, right? He jumps from any height, but we think even a small height is there, what will happen? So that is an example of overthinking what we are doing. So what you feel about this, please comment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. I think that I can 100% agree with you that social media is actually one of the sorts of our overthinking. Why? Because if you joined since the beginning in my earlier slide, you might see that they're kind of a comparison, and the social media can actually bring our good emotions and also a bad emotion. A good emotion is, for example, empathy. Nowadays, so many natural disasters happen around us, right? When we see there is a flood, there is an earthquake, and we see that through the social media, as the things that come through our eyes, our mind, and our ears is such a sad news. It brings our feeling into the empathy. Okay, that kind of actually a positive side of the social media. But on the other hand, most of the time, social media bring ourselves into the comparison. Okay, we start to comparing our timeline. Like I have said, like with the social media, we often compare our progress, and we actually misunderstood that progress actually doesn't really have a real timeline, and we cannot compare to other people. That's why there is so many such a digital literacy workshop nowadays to make people not commit to the suicide after they get compare themselves, or they feel bad, or they have the self-doubt. Most of the times when people have overthinking about the social media, it because they start thinking too much, as you said. Maybe when we see someone else in our field get more awards or get more achievement, we start to asking ourselves, when will we get that? Okay, why I didn't get that? And why that's not happening to me yet? Or maybe we see that person as a threat in our field, for example. But it's actually all of this overthinking is actually just irrational because it's not the fact. Maybe you start thinking, I thought I'm better than him or better than her, but why did they get award and not me? Oh, maybe the judges don't like me. Maybe my work is not enough, or I have done not so much as him or as her. Those kind of the thoughts spiraling on our mind without we realizing that is actually not the fact, which means that those are just our assumption. And social media with so many biases actually bring the layer of assumptions that we tend to send off directly to our mind without try to filtering it, without try to asking ourselves, is that kind of the situation is fit in ourselves or not? Because we cannot rely the story what other people go through with our own story. So I can agree with you that social media is a main source of our overthinking nowadays, because we cannot overthinking if we don't get comparison. Most of the times might say it like that, but with the social media, millions or billions of users around the world, even if we are chilling peacefully at the beach and trying to enjoy our holiday, we don't have any kind of overthinking. And as soon as we grab our phone, we open either it's Facebook or Instagram, we see someone have more luxury lifestyle, someone have more brand new car or a better jewelry and so on. Then even a peaceful thought is even a peaceful day can be such an overthinking at 1 second just because we grab the social media. That's why we have to bring awareness that everyone has their own timeline, and the progress actually doesn't define the timeline itself. So in that note, even if we see other people have more beautiful life, we are going to coming back to ourselves in a very deep gratitude and not trying to compare in a toxic way, because we can still compare ourselves if we want to be in a better place, but with a positive mindset, not with something that truly bring ourselves in a drowning place, like trying to tell the belief that is actually not true. But if we other people post success and we get the fuel of motivation, then it's good. But if we see other people post and we start comparing, we start to dismissing ourselves, then it's not good. So please be wise enough to see what kind of the post that you consume in daily life. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ma'am. It is not just a comparison, but what I feel, if suppose I'm sending you a message and if you're not responding to me, I start taking out meanings from it and I develop my emotions and thinking from that. So I think, the thinking is a ability of a human mind, but overthinking is something, a deviation from the normal line. Level of confidence level is also going down, and that because of that sense, that is one of the reasons. Second thing is we are sensitive to the opinions of others. If suppose someone says some bad words to me, I should not accept it. I should be strong enough to bear that or leave that or move ahead, right? But nowadays people keep thinking and moving all around of that thought only. And I think that is also playing a role in the youth and the students. What I feel, they have losing some ability to meditate and think logically and rationally. And that is why you'll find some people are so sensitive, they are hanging themselves, right? Someone said something in the school, right? And that boy jumped from the third floor down in India. So we are not thinking, in inner thinking is very important. And another break, what I feel is, we should have a sense of satisfaction, no comparisons, a sense of satisfaction, and we should pay gratitude to the God that whatever you have given me, that is enough for me. So if that we are having that gratitude, I think there will be no race and no competitions as such, and we will stop overthinking. Thank you very much, ma'am, for your wonderful today's presentation.
Thank you. So, actually, when we talk about the message, I give that as an example in my presentation. And even if you are trying to overthinking about the delay response of the message or delay response of the email, is actually not a reality. But when we are trying to create those belief on our mind about the assumption why this person is not replying my chat yet, or why this person is not responding. The truth is that we have the sense of rejection. When we don't get reply, we tend to feel like, okay, this is such a bad signal. There might be the rejection or not wanting me in order to get more discussion, for example. And those kind of the thinking is actually going to compare ourselves with other people. And maybe when we start thinking, okay, this person didn't reply my chat. Maybe they have a better option. Maybe they have not satisfied with my own response or with my proposal. So when we follow those kind of thought in the first place, it's going to lead out the comparison at the end. It depends on like how much spiraling thoughts on your mind you're going to follow. But like I have said in my presentation, you can have a million thoughts on your daily life, but it's always your power and your choice to believe which one that is true. That's why when you have irrational thinking, you have to ask yourself, is this relevant? Is there evidence to your thought? Is this real or not? Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Pramil Shuklaji, raising the perfect point in the discussion supporting to this talk. I request Veer Singh ji, you can discuss.
सभी को नमस्ते। नमस्ते नूरफिका मैडम। मैडम, मेरा सवाल है, विचार व्यक्त करना और संवेदना व्यक्त करना दोनों को कैसे देखते हैं आप?
He is saying that how we see the situation, someone is expressing thoughts and someone is expressing emotions. How we compare this? He is asking about this.
Oh, can you please repeat it, sir? Because I didn't get the question here.
How you treat if someone is expressing emotion or someone is expressing thought?
How? If what?
How someone is expressing emotion and how someone is expressing thoughts.
Okay. So the thing is, we have to get a core understanding what is emotions, what is a thought. Okay. In the first core belief that we have to understand that our thought drives our emotions. Okay. If someone is actually expressing their feeling, for example, we can see by their action. Okay, the action with the feeling that someone is showing to us might be related to each other. For example, if we have positive thought about someone else that just met with us, we're going to act like very friendly. When we meet that person next time, we're going to put a smile on our face. But if we have, let's say, negative experience with that person, in the next time we met that person, is obviously clear on our mind that we don't even want to smile with that person. And when it happened, it means that someone is actually showing you their feeling, which also means by the feeling that they are showing to you, it's actually linked to their thought about you. So it's actually very clear when someone is expressing the feeling to you, and then you catch that either into a positive action or negative action, then you can guess how is actually the thought behind it, how is actually they are thinking about you. But nowadays is kind of difficult too because there are so manipulative people around us. They might be very good at pretending to show a good feeling in front of us, but later on we count them that they actually have a bad thoughts about ourselves. And when that kind of the thing encounter in your lifestyle or in your daily basis, you just have to believe that no matter what they are showing to you, no matter what they are saying or they are expressing to you, it's not going to define your worth. Okay, either they are a very direct person that shows you a confrontation, either they are such a manipulators or liars and so on. Just set a clear mindset or set a clear core belief on your mind that other people, no matter what they are doing or they are saying, it's not going to define my worth. So you have a clear confidence in the first place. And when you have such a confidence, no matter what they are expressing or showing to you, it's not going to break you down. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Javid Singhji. He is expressing thank you for the perfect answer and clear answer. You answered about the emotions and the thoughts. So thank you. If anyone want to discuss, they can unmute and discuss with our speaker. Thank you, Herdiana madam, for joining here as a speaker and expressing your thoughts on the power of thoughts. It's a very useful thing that one should be think rationally in any situation to control emotions and so that situation can be handled perfectly so that we can be stable in our bodily also mindly and we can progress. It was very best speech by you. I thank you to you from my organization Veer Maheshwar Charitable Trust and also from all the participants those who are joined here. For the participant I would like to say that whenever I requested her, she accepted our invitation and joined to share her thoughts. In future also, we will again invite you, and we are very much thankful for your presentation today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm so happy to be here with all of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Merry Christmas to you all and Happy New Year to all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye. Good evening.